does not come from nothing. That which is so chaotic does not make that which is so organized. The impersonal does not make the personal. And the unintelligent does not make the intelligent. Scientists from everywhere agree that the possibility of life arising by chance is the same possibility of rolling a 6 on a dice 5 million consecutive times in a row. All logic predicts that if you have nothing, oh, guess what? Nothing will happen. In the real world, we never see anything jumping into existence out of nothingness. But atheists want to make one small exception to that rule, namely the universe and everything in it. The universe came into existence with extreme precision. Atheist Stephen Hawking and Steven Weinberg put it this way: if the expansion rate of the universe was changed by 1 second before the Big Bang or after the Big Bang, we would not be here. It would have either have collapsed or it would not have expanded. Another example is if you change the gravitational force by 1 part in 10 to the 40, we would not be here. Now, what's 1 part in 10 to the 40? It would be like if you took a tape measure and you ran it across a field that was 1 mile long, and if that tape measure was 1 inch short of that mile line marker or 1 inch over that mile line marker, we would not be here. Now, in reality, we're not taking a tape measure across a field that's 1 mile long, but the entire known universe. You change gravity by that much in our entire known universe, and we do not exist. Think of a battleship. You know, it's about 130,000 some tons. It's the length of about 4 football fields, several stories on that thing. You got about 5,000 or 6,000 people on it. Now, if you had to change the weight of that battleship by less than a trillionth of an electron, we would not be here if that battleship was the universe. That is how incredibly designed the universe is. In order for us to all live and exist on the earth, the sun had to be exactly the right temperature and mass, or we would all be dead. The earth is exactly the correct distance from the sun. If it was just slightly closer or slightly farther away, life could not exist. Christians are able to explain why everything is so fine-tuned and exactly perfect for life to exist. But atheists, on the other hand, are unable to explain the remarkable coincidences for life to exist. As the famous scientist Stephen Hawking once said, if things were different just by a hair or a small degree, life could not exist. Explosions destroy order. They don't produce order. However, if we accept that the universe and everything in it came from nothing, well, then we have to follow that to its logical conclusion. This means not only all the physical material of the universe was the product of nothing, but other things as well. We are forced to accept that nothing, which has no mind, no morals, and no conscience, created reason and logic, understanding and comprehension, complex ethical codes, a legal system, a sense of right and wrong. If God does not exist, then everything is permissible. Why would it be wrong to kill just one innocent person if it made somebody else a lot happier? Why was what Hitler did wrong? Because according to the laws of nature, to the atheist, that should be perfectly permissible. If there is no God, well then our life and our death should be no more of a big deal than a goldfish dying. If people are just chemical accidents, then why get upset at one for killing another? You wouldn't get upset for baking soda reacting with vinegar. That's just what chemicals do. And so the concept that human beings are valuable and not just animals or chemicals is contradictory. By using that which makes no sense given his worldview, the atheist is being horribly inconsistent. He's using God's laws of logic while denying the biblical God, which makes such laws possible. Atheists say the universe created itself. But in order for something to create itself, it would both have to exist to have the power to act and not exist in order to be created at the same time. This is a contradiction and a silly position to take based on all known scientific understanding. And so since the universe could not create itself, It had to have a beginning. The only logical conclusion is the universe had to be created. How can you explain the fully functioning universe with all of its complexities without some power source? Because just as a small example, who put the universe in motion? The Earth weighs 6 septillion 500 sextillion tons. That's heavy. Yet it hangs on nothing and it sits in space moving at 1,000 miles an hour. That's how fast we're currently moving. And it sits there in perfect balance and precision. And so we are moving at 1,000 miles a minute while spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, and there's no rockets or jets. Where's the power? And the sun, which we are moving around while spinning, is also in orbit, moving at a high incalculable rate of speed. I mean, we could do this for hours. When you look at the design and the complexity of human anatomy, the atmosphere, oceans, insects, animals, galaxies, and much, much, much more, all of creation clearly and undoubtedly points to a designer. It takes a crazy, insane amount of faith to believe that there's not. Because there's living proof every single which way you look. Bill Gates, you may have heard of him, said that DNA is like a computer program, far, far more advanced than any software ever created. Messages only come from minds. We know of no natural law that can create a message. A single-celled creature, or one strand of DNA, has 1,000 complete sets of encyclopedia volumes in it. DNA has that much information. Now, to believe that that resulted by natural causes without intelligent intervention is like believing that the Library of Congress came about from an explosion in a printing shop. Most scientists believe that the coding behind the DNA molecule points to an intelligence far exceeding what could have happened by natural causes. In fact, the sequence of letters of DNA is not determined by chemistry. It's information. And what we've learned, it has nothing to do with the four natural forces. The complexity of DNA has caused many scientists to go from atheism to deism due to the fact that the complexity is something far greater than we can comprehend. The teaching of the Bible is that there is a God who created the universe and the earth and all the organisms living on the earth. This is shown to be true and consistent with scientific discoveries, that there is a non-material third fundamental entity called information that originates only from an intelligent source. FYI, the universe consists of more than just mass and energy and the information we find within the DNA system. The complexity of life clearly points to being originated by an all-powerful, all-knowing Creator God. Anyone who disagrees with these laws and conclusions must falsify them by demonstrating the initial origin of information from purely material sources. And by the way, that has never scientifically been achieved. You're not an accident. You're not a mistake. You were built for a purpose, and that is to know and have a relationship with God for all eternity.